Hi everyone. In my previous video, we talked about what are missing values, how to identify them, and what are the different types of missing values. And in this video, we are going to cover how to handle missing values. We're going to be talking about these 12 ways in which we can handle missing values. If you have not watched my previous video about missing values, then I would highly recommend watching it because that forms the base for this video. If you're new here, then I am Radhika and this is my YouTube channel DataZard. And now without further ado, let's get started. The first method that we have for handling missing values is called as deleting missing values. So let us consider this example where you can see that third row has missing values and also these two columns have missing values. So in this case, what this method tells us to do is you can remove this entire row. So these two entire rows, they can be removed because they contain missing values, and we can remove these columns if we want to handle the missing values. So essentially what we are doing is we are deleting the entire rows or deleting the entire column so that our data does not contain missing values. Now you would think that when can this method be used? So this method should only be used when we have less than 5% of the overall data missing. The second scenario is missing data is not relevant to the use case. So for example, if you look here, this is a house price prediction problem. And in this case, we have a column called as seller name. Now the price of the house does not depend on who is the person who's selling the house. So that's why this is not a relevant column. And if we have missing values in this column, it should be okay for us to remove this entire column altogether. So the only two scenarios are when we have small amount of data, which is less than 5% of the data, and when the missing data is not relevant to our use case that we are solving. There are a few disadvantages of this method, and the first one is we are losing information because we are deleting rows or deleting columns. So we are losing the information that was actually present. Second is we are introducing bias because we are removing these columns. So if you look here, so for this house, we know that there were 2 rooms, and for size of house which was 120 meters square, the price was coming as 4 million. We are removing this information. We are removing these informations. So we might be introducing some kind of bias in the data. And the third is again, we are reducing the size of the data set for the training purpose because again, we are removing rows or columns. So this method is not recommended unless you have missing data in the column that is not relevant to the use case. So we just directly remove it. The second technique to handle missing values is called as imputation techniques. There are two types of imputations, simple imputation and advanced imputation. For simple imputation, let us first consider an example where our missing values, they are in numerical column. So if you look here, both of these columns F1 and F3 have missing values, and both of these columns, they are of numerical type. Now to replace these missing values, what we do is we try to find out the mean of this column and replace the value with the mean that we have found. So let's say for this one, we are going to replace this with mean of F1. So mean of F1 is 80 plus 20 plus 40 plus 20 divided by 4, which is equal to 160 by 4, which is equal to 40. So we are going to replace this nan by 40 because we have first tried to find out the mean of this column and then replace this missing value with that value. Similarly for this one, we are going to find out the mean. So that will be equal to 30 plus 20 plus 10 divided by 3, which is equal to 60 divided by 3, that is equal to 20. So we are going to replace both of these values with 20, which is the mean of the column. Now the question is, when should we use mean to replace missing values? So when our column, if we try to plot this and we find that this is a normal distribution, like it forms a bell-shaped curve, then we can use mean to replace the missing values. So the use case is, if your column with missing values follows a normal distribution, then use mean to replace missing value. When not to use this? When you know that your column has outliers, then you should not be using this method. Why? Because mean is sensitive to outliers, which means mean is not the right measure to replace missing values with. Now you must be thinking that what if my data is skewed, because real life data is never a normally distributed data. So in that case, we can use another statistical measure which is called as median. Why? Because median is not sensitive to outliers, which means even if our data has some kind of skewness, median can be used. So what we will do is we will first find out the median for column F1. So for F1, what we do is we first need to arrange these values in ascending order. So I'll arrange 20, then again 20, 40, and 80. These are the values. I'm arranging them in ascending order. Then because this has even number of data points, so our median would be equal to mean of these two middle data points. Mean of 20 plus 40 divided by 2, that is 60 divided by 2 is 30. So we are going to replace this NaN value by 30. Similarly for F3, we will again need to find out what is the median. So I'm going to arrange this in ascending order, 10, 20 and 30, because these are even number of data points. So we can say that this is median, and we are going to replace our missing values with this 20, which is the median of this column. So this is how we're going to use median to replace our missing values. Always remember that median should always be, median is a better measure as compared to mean when it comes to outliers. Now we have imputed numerical data, but what about categorical data? So in categorical data, we can obviously not find out what mean and median are. So we're going to use a different statistical measure which is called as mode. So we know that categorical data is of discrete type, and in these scenarios we can use mode, which is called as the most frequent value. So if you look here in our column F2, this is all categorical data, yes and no answers, and we have a missing value over here. So we can replace this missing value with mode of this column. So for F1, what we are going to do is we're going to find out the mode, and we know that there are only two values here, yes and no. Yes is coming one time and no is coming 3 times. So we know that this is the mode, and we are going to replace NaN with no, because that's what the mode is. So this is a simple way to replace categorical data with mode. Next up in the list, we have forward and backward fill. So this is another method for handling missing values. And here what we are going to use is the nearest non-missing value in the column to replace that missing value. Now there are two types of fill, forward fill and backward fill. So in forward fill, what we do is these are the missing values that we have right now. So we are going to find a non-missing value which is prior to this value and replace these values with that value. So that's why if you look at this column, this is using forward fill. We found that 10 was a value which was previous to this missing value, and we have replaced both of these missing values with 10. In backward fill, we do the opposite. So here we're going to find a value which is not missing, which is coming just after this value. So we found that these are the two missing values, and after that the non-missing value is 20. So in this column, if you see, we are replacing missing values via backward fill, and here we are replacing them with 20. So always remember, forward fill is we are looking at the previous non-missing value, and backward fill is we are looking at the next non-missing value. Now the question would be, when should we be using this forward fill and backward fill? So when our data has some sort of order present in it, or it follows some form of sequence, then we should be using forward fill and backward fill. And the second scenario is when we have time series data, because again it will have some sort of order in it. There are a couple of advantages of using forward fill and backward fill, and the first is the order of data is preserved when we are doing a forward fill and backward fill. It is especially useful in time series data where orders matter, because here we are again preserving the order. A couple of disadvantages related to forward fill and backward fill: we might not be accurate if there is large gaps between the missing values, and it is not suitable for unordered data. So if we have unordered data present, then obviously this is not the best choice. Next method for handling missing values is called as interpolation. So the values that are surrounding our missing values, they help decide what should be the value of our missing value. So we are actually using the relationship between the neighboring values to decide what values should be used in place of missing values. So in interpolate, we use some form of equation, like we assume that our data follows a linear pattern, so we are going to use a linear relationship. Or we can assume that our data follows quadratic equation and we are going to use quadratic relationship. So it's just like connecting the dots if you think about it. Taking this as an example, let's consider this is our data Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and this is what we have as NaN value. Now we are assuming that our F1 follows a linear relationship, and if it follows linear relationship, then what we can do is we can replace this value with 27, because after 25 we can do 27 and then 29. So this would be a linear relationship. So this is how interpolation works. Now the question is, when should we be using this? So when the data is numeric and is in ordered fashion, that's when we are going to use interpolation, because again, we are trying to predict this value on the basis of the order that it falls in. Advantages of using interpolation in handling missing values. So the first is it is easy to implement. There is a direct Python function for that. Preserves the relationship between data, because we are defining this value on the basis of relationship of this value with the other values. More accurate than mean and median imputation, as it is fitting missing values by understanding the underlying data, because again we are understanding the pattern first, and then on the basis of that pattern we are saying, okay, NaN should be replaced with 27. Disadvantages of using interpolation for handling missing values is, first is we can't interpolate categorical data. It can only be used for numerical type. Second is it requires an ordered data. If the data is not ordered, then there is no way we can interpolate. And third is it is sensitive to outliers. Next category of imputation is called as advanced imputation techniques. And the first technique in this is called as k-nearest neighbors imputation, or commonly called as KNN imputation. In this, we are going to use k-nearest neighbors algorithm to predict the values which are missing. So taking house price prediction as an example, if you look here, this is the price that we are going to predict, and these are the independent features. So we're going to predict this price on the basis of number of rooms, size of room, street, suburb, lot frontage, and lot area. Now if you look here, all of these values, they are present except this NaN value which is in the lot frontage. So lot frontage is the length of your house that is on the street. Now we know that this lot frontage, it is related to suburb, it is related to street, and it is also related to the lot area. Why? Because if you think, if you go into a particular suburb and then to a particular street, and if you find houses which are of similar lot area, then on the basis of these three values, you should be able to predict the lot frontage. So this is how we are going to find out the lot frontage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another model. So before predicting the house price, we are going to first find out these NaN values. So I'm just going to pick up the columns that are needed, so which is lot area, street, and suburb, these three, and these will form my independent features, and lot frontage will form my dependent feature. And on the basis of these three features, I'm going to predict what lot frontage is using KNN algorithm. So for all the rows where we have lot frontage present, we are going to treat these as training data set, and then we are going to train our KNN model on the basis of this training data set. And then when we are happy with the accuracy of this model, we're going to use this KNN model to predict for those rows where our lot frontage is missing. So essentially we are picking up those columns which are correlated with our lot frontage, and we are building a KNN model between these features. For all the rows where lot frontage is present, we're going to use them to train our KNN model, and then when we are going to give them these rows where lot frontage is NaN to get the predictions. So in this way, whatever prediction is given by this model, we're going to use that prediction and replace it with the NaN value. Now you would be thinking, when should we be using KNN imputation? So first is it can be used for both numerical data as well as categorical data. Second is when the missing value is correlated with other features in our data set, that's when we are going to use KNN imputation. And when you know that missing value is correlated with other features, we know that this is of MAR category. And again, if you have not watched my previous video where I have defined the different types of missing values, then I highly recommend watching it, because that will help you understand what MAR is. So whenever we have MAR type of missingness, which is missing at random type of missingness, then we can use KNN imputation. So this is the same house price example that I have explained earlier, that for house prices, we were having lot area, neighborhood and street. So we're going to use these as features and we are going to predict the value of lot frontage. Third scenario in which we can use KNN imputation is when we have medium size data set. When the data set is of medium size, then we have enough training samples and then we can train our KNN model, and then on the basis of that we can do the predictions for our missing data. When you want better accuracy than mean and median imputation, that's when you're going to use KNN imputation. Now talking about the advantages of KNN imputation, first advantage is it gives better accuracy than mean and median imputation. Why? Because here we are trying to understand the data first and then trying to replace missing values. Second is it is context aware, because again we are trying to understand the data here. Third is we don't need to assume any relationship, that is a relationship being normal or Gaussian. Like for doing imputation with mean, we had to first assume that our data follows a normal distribution, and that's when we were replacing missing values with mean. But here we don't have to make such kind of assumptions. Why? Because KNN is a non-parametric algorithm, which means these kind of assumptions, they are not required. KNN only uses distances for making these predictions. That's why these assumptions are not required. There are a few disadvantages of this method though. The first disadvantage is it is computationally expensive, especially for large data sets, because KNN is a lazy learning algorithm, so it requires huge amounts of resources. As it is a distance-based algorithm, so it is sensitive to scaling. This is one of the important things that you need to remember. Third is it is sensitive to outliers, because KNN again is a distance-based algorithm, therefore it is sensitive to outliers. And it is memory intensive, again because of the fact that it is a lazy learning algorithm. Next technique in advanced imputation is called as MICE, multiple imputation by chained equations. It is to impute missing values multiple times. And why multiple times? To reduce uncertainty. When we are doing all of these imputations, we don't know what actual value is for that missing value. We're just trying to be as close to the actual value as possible. So if we are trying to predict that value multiple times, so if that value is continuously coming around that value, then we know that this is very close to the actual value because consistently it is coming out as the same value, and that is how we are able to reduce the uncertainty. This is also a model-based approach like KNN. In this, what do we do is, suppose there are features f1, f2, f3 till fn. Some or all of these features, they contain missing values. Suppose f1 is a feature which contains missing value. So first what we are going to do is, we are going to replace this missing value with mean or median of this column. Then we are going to predict the f1 values using regression model, which is trained on the rest of the features. So here f1 will be our target and the rest of the features from f2 till fn will be our independent features. When we have created this regression model, then after that we are going to guess the missing values. So missing values would be replaced with the predicted values. We are going to repeat these for all of these columns. So if f2 had missing values, then we are going to use f2 as target and the rest of the columns as independent features, and then do it till all the columns fn are predicted. Once this is done, this is one cycle, and we are going to repeat this cycle multiple times. So create multiple models where features from f1 to fn, they become target one by one and the rest of the features become independent features. So because we are doing this multiple times, we are replacing f1 multiple times with predicted values, we are reducing the uncertainty, and that's why it is called as multiple imputation, because this is being repeated multiple times. So essentially what we are doing here is, we are first replacing the missing value with simple imputation like mean or median imputation. Then we are predicting the missing value in the column using the other columns. That's why we had whatever the feature which had missing value, one of those features we take as target variable and the rest of the features as independent variables. And then we try to create a model and predict our target variable. And then we repeat this process to refine our imputations. Now, when should we be using this method which is called as MICE? When we have multiple columns which have missing values, then that forms the best use case for using MICE. Missing data is at random. That is, missingness can be explained by other columns. That is when we are going to use mice, and data set is not too large. Couple of advantages related to mice are, first, it is more accurate as compared to simple imputation, because again we are first trying to understand the underlying data, and on the basis of that we are trying to predict the missing values. Second is, it is great for data sets where features are interrelated, that is when missingness is due to MAR, because again we are using F1 feature as target, and on the basis of rest of the features which are being used as independent features, we are trying to explain what could be the value of F1. So when the features are interrelated, that gives us an edge to get accurate predictions. Few disadvantages related to mice. It is slow on large data sets because we have to create model multiple times and have to repeat this process for all the features which have missing values. It is not suitable if the missingness is not due to MAR. If we can't explain the missing feature on the basis of other features in our data set, then this cannot be used. It is computationally expensive, and again, because we are doing multiple imputations here, it is hard to understand, debug, and explain compared to simple imputation. Third method in the advanced imputation technique is regression imputation. So in this, we are going to predict the missing values by using a regression model with rest of the columns as independent features. Now you would think, how is it different from mice, multiple imputations? So the difference is, in mice, we were doing multiple imputations. We were creating multiple regression models for every feature. But in regression imputation, we are just going to use only one model. We're just going to create only one model, and whatever that model has predicted, we're going to replace our missing values with that value. So how is it working? Suppose we have three features, F1, F2, and F3, and there are missing values in F1. So we are going to create a regression model where F2 and F3 become our independent features and F1 becomes our dependent feature. So we are going to predict F1 values on the basis of these two F2 and F3 values, feature 1, feature 2, and feature 3 values. Then we are going to replace this missing value with whatever prediction has been obtained from this particular model. So we are doing this process only one time. It comes as regression imputation, and if you repeat this process multiple times, then it becomes mice. When should we use regression imputation? So if the missing feature is numeric and it is correlated with other features, that is, missingness is due to MAR, then we can use regression imputation. Second is, when the proportion of missing data is not too high, then we can use this, because we need enough data so that we can train the regression model. And if there are lots of missing data, then we might not be able to train our model properly. So this regression imputation might not work there. Advantages related to regression imputation. First is, it is easy to implement because linear models are easy to implement and explain. Second is, it is more accurate than mean and median imputation because we are trying to determine missing value by understanding the pattern in the data. It is easy to explain and debug. And lastly, it preserves relationship between features. Disadvantage of regression imputation is it underestimates variance. And second, if the assumptions are violated, then it can cause biased estimates. Next set of techniques to handle missing values is to use those machine learning algorithms that inherently handle missing values. First such example is called as XGBoost or Extreme Gradient Boost. This handles missing values during the training process itself. So how does this work? We know that in XGBoost, we're going to build trees. And for each decision tree, we need to split the data at each node in left and right nodes. So for every split, the XGBoost algorithm evaluates what action needs to be taken if they encounter a missing value, whether that value should go to the left branch or right branch. How is this decided that it should be going to the left branch or right branch? It is decided on the basis of which branch leads to lower loss. And this is the default direction that is learned while training, and when XGBoost encounters a missing value during inference process, then it knows what it had chosen at the time of training, and that missing value would go down the default path. It is important to note that XGBoost does not fill missing values. It only knows which path to go down to when it comes to missing values to get the optimal results. So we are not replacing values, we only know which path to choose. Taking an example here, suppose that there was a feature called as lot area in house price prediction. Now, one of the splits, let's say in XGBoost, was if lot area is greater than 10,000, then go left, otherwise go right. Now, if the lot area is missing, then XGBoost will first try to evaluate whether it should send that missing value on the left side of this tree, left side of this node, or the right side of this node. Whichever node gives it a choose would be chosen as default node, and XGBoost will remember it. And when at the inference time it encounters a missing value, then that default path would be chosen. When we should be using XGBoost to handle missing values, when we know that we want to save time and avoid any kind of imputation, then we can use XGBoost. And when we want our model to learn and handle missing values as a part of training itself, that's when we are going to use XGBoost. There are a few advantages of using XGBoost to handle missing values. First is no imputation is required. Second, it uses training laws to determine best direction instead of using a constant generic value. Third is it uses sparsity aware algorithm, which helps the model to make decisions about path at the time of training. Disadvantage of using XGBoost for handling missing value is this algorithm is not very interpretable and explainable. So this interpretability and explainability is reduced. Now the next category of algorithms which can inherently handle missing values is light GBM or light gradient boosting machine. There are a few scenarios that we have to cover here, like whether the missing value is found at the time of training or at the time of prediction, and also whether that column is numerical or categorical. So let's understand these scenarios. So the first scenario is when the numerical feature has missing value during prediction. So if you look here, this is our training data set, and currently there are no missing values here. But the data that we have for prediction looks like this. We have NaN for lot size, we have the roof type which is Gable, and we don't have price, like we have to predict price here. Now during training, we don't have any NaN values in lot sizes, and this lot sizes, this is a numerical data type. So light GBM, it doesn't know how to route this missing NaN value because it has not encountered this during training. So what it will do is light GBM will first convert this value to 0, and it will do this only if you have not imputed it before. If you had imputed it with mean or median, then it would have worked out a different way, because then it was not a missing value, it was just a value. But if you have not imputed it, then light GBM will first convert this NaN to 0. Then we will compare this 0 with whatever threshold is chosen at the time of split. Is 0 less than the threshold or greater than the threshold? We are going to check that, because how split happens is this is our threshold, and at this threshold we say whether our value lies below threshold or above threshold. So we are going to compare 0 with this threshold, and then that direction will be chosen to send the row to. So essentially the prediction is made as if the lot size is 0. In practice, we should impute using mean and median if missing values are not present during the training. So this was the first scenario. Now our second scenario is that our categorical feature has a missing value that is only found at the time of prediction. So if you look here in our training data set, there are no missing values or NaN values. But when we were trying to predict, then at that time our roof type, which was a categorical variable, it had NaN in it. So we are encountering this NaN only at the time of prediction. We did not know about this at the time of training. In such cases, for categorical features, the missing values, they always go on the right side. Why on the right side? So if you think about it, when we would be building this model, then for roof type, we would have a node such that roof type is equal to Gable, or roof type is equal to HIP. So we know that if roof type is gable, then go to left, otherwise go to right. If roof type is hip, then go to left, otherwise go to right. So we are only going on the left side when we know about the feature, when we have encountered that feature during training, because that's how this node would have been formed. But if we don't know about this, then it will always go to the right. So no matter what our missing value is from this, it will always go to right. So all the unknown categories or nulls, they would be treated the same way. They will always be going down the right side of the node. Now the third scenario is when numerical feature is missing both at training and prediction. So if you look at our training data set, we have NaN in our numerical column at the time of training, and also in our prediction data set, we have NaN in this numerical column. So we know that the algorithm has encountered a NaN or a missing value at the time of training. So what it would do is it would evaluate what will happen if this missing value is goes down the left node, and it will also evaluate what happens when this missing value goes down the right node. Whichever node has the lower loss value, that node will be chosen at the time of training, and our algorithm would remember the default path. So now when at the time of prediction it encounters a NaN value, it knows that which node to choose depending on whichever had the lower loss, and that node would be chosen at the time of prediction. So always remember that for numerical feature, if our algorithm has encountered missing value at the time of training, they will go down both the paths, and the path that leads to lower loss will be chosen as the default path for missing values, so that at the time of prediction, when again a missing value is encountered for that column, algorithm knows which path to go down to. Fourth scenario is when the categorical feature has missing value both at the time of training and prediction. So suppose we had to predict. This works similar to the scenario 2, where the missing category was only found at the time of prediction. So here this missing category would always end up in the right node. Why? Because when we will be creating tree for this data set, then we would have something like roof type is equal to gable, or roof type equal to hip. In both the cases, if it is true, then it will go to left, otherwise right. If it is true, then it will go to left, otherwise right. And this is a NaN category, so it will end up always on the right hand side. So to summarize these scenarios, so if the condition is that numerical data is missing at the time of training, so we know at training there are missing values in that column and it is of type numerical, then the behavior is LightGBM will send it to both left and right nodes and try to choose the node which has minimum loss, and that node would be remembered for any further missing values at the time of prediction. If there is numerical data which is not missing at training, but there are missing values at the time of prediction, then these missing values, they are first replaced with 0, and then after that they are compared with the thresholds that are there for the trees, and then whichever path is right according to that threshold would be chosen. For categorical data, it does not matter whether we just see it at the time of training or we see it just at the time of prediction or both. We always assign it to the right side, because for categories, the node is always created on the basis of seen data, whether the roof type is equal to hip or roof type is equal to gable. It is on the basis of that. So if it is not, then it always ends up in the right side of the node. When should LightGBM be used for handling missing values? It can be used for both numerical as well as categorical data. It works well with large data sets. Some of the advantages of using LightGBM for handling missing values is it learns how to handle missing values during the training itself. No imputation is needed. It works well with large data sets. It is fast and efficient and serves better accuracy as compared to simple imputation, because it is able to understand the underlying data patterns. Disadvantages of using LightGBM for handling missing values are: first, it might not be optimal for small data sets, and second, small changes in the training data might lead to different NaN routing paths. That is, it might not always be reproducible. These were the different ways in which we can handle missing values. I hope I was able to explain you all of these different categories. There are a lot of things that go behind the scene in picking and choosing one of these ways to handle missing values, but I hope I have given you enough context so that you can choose right type of imputation. If you have any questions, then please put them in the comments below. I would be happy to answer them. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.